So we're here with Tyrone Smith, Chief of Police in the town of Barnesville. He's one of our candidates for sheriff here in Hampton County. So we're going to sit down and have a good conversation with him. Ty, thank you for being here, bud.
Thank you for inviting me.
What we're going to do here is just go over some questions about some of your plans as the sheriff, and give us a little bit about your background, and that's where we'll start. You know, give me your background, where you're from, tell me about your career in law enforcement.
Well, I was raised right here in Hampton County, but I was born in New York. I got 3 brothers, 3 sisters, raising a single-home parent by a good woman, my mother. My career in law enforcement started in 1990 under Sheriff Rudy Little Hope at the Hampton County Detention Center. There I was a jailer and a dispatcher. I worked my way up from a jailer and dispatcher to the chief jailer, and I got promoted to deputy sheriff in 1994. Graduated from the academy in 1995, worked for Sheriff Sidney Dupree, corporal, warrant division, worked for the Sheriff Lee Brown, captain over road patrol, and eventually moved on to the Barnesville as assistant chief of police in 1999. Got promoted to chief of police in 2002, and been chief of police since 2002.
And how big is your department in Barnesville?
Barnesville is a six-man department.
Okay. Now, being a chief of police, this one's gonna really be right up your alley. You and I have known each other for a long time, and working under municipalities, budgets are a big issue. So how do you plan at the sheriff's office to stay in budget? Tell me some of your concerns and some of your plans about that.
Well, one of the things municipalities does is stay in budget, as we meet with the town council and mayor once a month. I mean, we meet with them every month. We have to be there and report. I was blessed to work in the town. I worked there for 4 different mayors and several council members. We have a great working relationship. And one of our goals as the mayor, town council, and the police department is to be financially responsible. We don't want to waste taxpayers' money, and I take pride in that, that we don't waste their money. We always stay within our budget, what the town give us, and as sheriff, I would do the same.
Awesome. So one of the big things that we've seen with the budget, again, I know a little inside information working in law enforcement with you for the last 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Overtime is always a big issue with any department, but especially with our sheriff's office. I think what has been discovered is that's where a lot of the over budget funds are going, is to overtime. So what's your plan to limit overtime?
The first thing, overtime is not for the employee to get extra money to pay their bills. Overtime is for special needs operations, such as investigations overtime. Right now, today, we got the June Festival in Gifford. That would call pay overtime. But regular duty for officers, it shouldn't be no overtime. Everyone in my administration will have a schedule. What's up, me, the chief deputy, and my command staff. And I want to work with the county council, because everybody on my command staff need them young men and women to be paid salary. I want those young men and women to pay salary. I got a 5-man command staff along with the chief deputy. The detective division, road patrol, you work in law enforcement, it's 86 hours.
Right.
It ain't gonna be 86 hours. You got a schedule. If any overtime should arise, it should be written why overtime was. In Varnaville, we don't do a time clock. We do by thumbprint. Thumbprint, Jake can't go in and punch Tyrone time. Tyrone can't punch Jake time. You use a thumbprint. I advise my officers to be to work at 5:45. I pay them at 5:45. They're supposed to get off at 6 o'clock. Their time stops. If they want to have a conversation with one another, that's fine. But I'm not giving no gifts out.
Right.
What's your time start? Well, Chief, I forgot to punch out yesterday because I was talking to Jake, or I was talking to Tyrone. Well, I'm going back in there and I'm punching you out.
Right.
Because it was no reason for you to be out.
Well, kind of tying into that, I think what I want to know is you to give us your plan of how you're going to structure the sheriff's office, your different divisions, how many deputies you're going to have working at one time, And that goes in line with the question of increasing manpower and decreasing response times. How do you propose to
All right.
attack that?
In 1998, I was captain of the Road Patrol under Sheriff Lee Brown. At that time, we probably was a 20 man or 22-man department. When I was captain of the Road Patrol, I had 12 road deputies. I had 3 officers on day shift, 3 officers on night shift. Um, Currently today, recently they had this up to 2 officers on day shift, 2 officers on night shift. What I want to do at the sheriff office is I want to have, like I said, I got a 5-man command staff. 3 of those people, one is in charge of road patrol, one is in charge of detective division, and one is in charge of the SROs and the courthouse. SROs is approximately 11 SROs in this county. That is as big as any police department by itself. So you got to have somebody to oversee that, and you got to have somebody to oversee the courthouse. But the road patrol, I want to put at least start out with 16 road deputies, and I want to put them out in zones. Why you want to put them out in zones is because you want to cut off the respond time. If I cut the respond time, I'm cutting fuel. I'm saving taxpayers' dollars. I want to have officers in Esther and Hampton. When I say Esther and Hampton, Esther is the south side, Hampton is the north side.
Right.
But from there, we're still going to branch out into zones. I recently talked to Chris Altman, Hampton County EMS, and I asked him, I say, Chris, you know I'm running for sheriff, and I want to know, can you provide me a office space in Yamasee? He told me he could provide me office space in Yamasee. So what I want to do with that office space in Yamasee is I want to have a subdivision. No, it's not a secretary, it's a subdivision. So when the officers in the Yamasee area, they can also talk to the citizens. Citizens can come by that substation from time to time to talk to me. You know, Yamasee 20 miles away. Somebody might say, I got gas when they talk to the sheriff. But I will be there periodically, and I will let it be known that I'm going to be in that area for citizens can come by and talk to me. Also want to talk to the town of Bronson. Excuse me for a minute. I got to turn my phone off.
It's okay. You're the chief. You got to have that thing on sometimes.
Anyway, I want to talk to the mayor of the town of Bronson because from my understanding is the town of Bronson pays the sheriff's office. I don't want to say because I don't know how much money they pay them a year, but they pay them some money. I want to use that town hall for a substation. And then Esther, the sheriff office currently now uses it as a substation. That was a great thing the sheriff did. But I want to change that from a substation to an office 8 to 5. They got a secretary over there already. But I want to have an office from 8 to 5. And on every Wednesday, I'm going to be in that office to talk to the citizens from the south side. Many of them don't want to travel this far over here.
Right.
But they'll see me every Wednesday. Not just on Wednesday, I build it from time to time.
But so you'll have some designated times so the people in Yamasee know on Tuesday at 12 o'clock the sheriff is going to be in town.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm going to be here Wednesday at 12 o'clock.
Well,
whatever it might be.
Well, Wednesday, I'm in Esther all day.
Right.
I'm not. That's my office on Wednesday, and my first desire is to put 2 officers out at 6 o'clock in the morning. I got policies already written on this stuff. Put 2 officers out at 6 o'clock in the morning. 2 officers out at 11 o'clock. 11. 2 officers out at 3 o'clock, and then 2 officers out at 6 o'clock. What that is from 11 o'clock in the morning to 11 o'clock at night, we got 6 deputies patrolling this county. You got 3 on the north side, 3 on the south side. And what I do when people come home from work, come from Hilton Head, and you know, when people come home from work, sometimes they be upset. The message coming on might happen. I got officers to respond.
Right.
It's easier to have them out there than to call them from their home.
So what you're doing is you're putting the most amount of officers out at the
critical time. Critical time. You know, Monday through Thursday, you got a set time, but change over on Friday, Saturday, Sunday because you got nightclubs.
Right. So
that 3 o'clock now is 4 to 4. That 11 o'clock now is 2 to 2. So you got to have men and women out there. One thing I didn't say is I will have a detective division on both sides of the county. I think I got starting out with a 5-man detective division with a lieutenant, and I got a narc officer. But I got 2 detectives on the south side, 2 detectives on the north side. Crimes happen all over, so we got to be in place to handle when they happen. And that's why I want to put detectives on both sides of the county, because if you're working for an environment efficient, you will be working.
Right. That ties right into the next question. So, do you feel like there's a drug problem in Hampton County?
No, I don't feel like it's a drug problem in Hampton County. I know it's a drug problem in Hampton County.
What's your plan to try to address it?
Well, Jake, one of my plans is to address the drug problem. If you look at my card, the resume, I say go back to the basic. Sometimes we have to go back to the basic. And the basic is back in 1997 or 1995, when Sheriff Dupree seen we had a drug problem. Sheriff Dupree, Captain Pearson, and TC at the time was the sergeant. What that command staff did, they worked with the Jasper County Sheriff Office, Colony County Sheriff Office, and they put together a tri-county task force. And I using Harbour at the time, we attacked that situation. What I would do is also work with the solicitor office and form a tri-county task force, not with just Jasper County and Colony County, Allendale, and even try to get Beaver County involved. But we're going to have to work with SLED, and we're going to have to work with the DEA. One thing we got to do, and one thing we were successful in doing, is we hire a young man or woman to work narcotics. We got to let them work narcotics. And what I mean by that is, if I hire a narcotic officer, the first thing I'm going to do is hide his identity from my department. Only one know about my narcotic officer is the command staff. You know, we work in a small county. Everybody know everybody.
Right.
So why would I say and have him take photographs with my officers saying Jake Solomon is my narcotic officer? What can he do when everybody know he's a narcotic officer? So if I hire Jake Solomon is going to be undercover. I don't need you to come to the office. Your paycheck is direct deposit. You know, there's going to come a time when your identity is going to be brought out, because
Right.
you're going to have to go to court. So when you go to court and your identity been brought out, I need to be a step ahead of that, talking to Greenville County Sheriff Office. You know, because I'm still using you, and then you transfer to Greenville, and he sends somebody down. Yeah, the narcotic officer still is unknown.
Right.
And what that means is, if I got a dirty officer, get him. Get who you can get. We got to address this situation, and we got to address it smartly. But by just saying, Tyrone Smith is a narcotic officer, he riding around town, everybody see me as a narcotic officer. What can he accomplish?
Right.
We got to go undercover to accomplish these goals, and that's what I would do, working with state, local, federal, and the surrounding agencies.
How about in our schools? Is the drug problem there as well?
I really can't say. You know, I at one point in my career, from 2002 to 2011, I was over the SRO program at Hampton in the North District. Probably so.
Do you have any ideas or plans to try to maybe outreach with the schools for education for kids to try to prevent some of the drug problems?
Well, what you got to do is, you know, my SRO is men or women need to be mentors to the kids, and I mean encourage them to be mentors. You know, years ago I took a class to be a mentor to Psychiatric Youth Challenge.
Mm-hmm. Good program.
A lot of the kids come from broken homes. A lot of the kids come from single home parents, and they need guidance. They don't need somebody to be on their throat at all times. I've been blessed. I did come from. I came from a single home parent, but I did have my father in my life. My father I tell my story all the time. My father had an addiction. His addiction was alcohol. But my mother raised my sisters and brothers by herself. She did a great job. I had praying family, praying grandmother, uncles and aunts, and you know, I came out of the area they call it Hampton Garden Park, right on Holly Street. Many people call it the projects. I want to be an example, and a lot of us want to be an example. You know, Michael Smith, he comes from the same area to show that we don't have to be a statistic. We can be an overcomer. Just because you come from a single home parent, don't let nobody write you off. You can be a doctor, you can be a lawyer, you can be whatever you want to be. But what you're going to have to do is put God first in your life.
I love it.
Let Him lead you. And sometimes I learned this young from my daddy because my daddy had a sickness. He always told his sons that you can do better. What he meant by doing better, don't follow my path. You know what I'm saying? And just because somebody's drunk, you can learn a lot from a drunk. You just got to listen. Today, me and my brothers, a lot of us drink. Um, we take care of our families. We take care of our friends. But it is, a lot of these kids is broken. They're broken. And I encourage kids all the time to play a sport. You know where your child at when he's playing a sport. When Coach Rankin was at the high school and I had SRs in the schoolhouse, I'll tell Coach Rankin to call me. You see a kid in the school that you want to play football, you call me. I'll make contact with their parent and I encourage them to play football.
Right.
Because if you don't have something for these children to do, they're going to do something wrong.
Right.
We don't need to disencourage them. We need to encourage them. Even though they fall down, let them know that they can be better because you don't know what message that they're receiving in their home.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? We can tell them they can be better. And guess what? Sometimes they'll talk to you when they don't talk to nobody else because you is encouraging them.
Yep. So that rolls right into the next question. What are you going to do to attract and retain good quality officers for your department?
First of all, I'm going to continue to be honest with the young men and women. Tell them the truth. A lot of officers in Hampton County know me, and they know I'm always fair with my officers. I'm going to stand by them when they're right, and I'm going to correct them when they're wrong. But one thing to retain officers is we're going to have to bring up officer salaries up. One thing I said at the phone, and I meant that truly, we have to talk, and that for the municipalities and the county. It's not fair for the municipalities to be stealing employees from one another. We're doing that too much.
Right.
But if we get a set salary and get good people, we can avoid that. One of the things, the sheriff office has, I believe, between 40 and 50 manpower now. I don't believe my administration would have near that much. And by doing that, the salaries for the sheriff office, I believe, is $1.6 million. So, for example, the sheriff at one point in time had 4 victim advocates. In my administration, we only going to have 2. One on the north side, one on the south side. Again, so you eliminated 2 salaries there.
Right.
So we need to take that money and elevate the pay. We need to elevate the guys' pay. That's one thing we want to do. We're going to look at different things in the budget that we can cut. I want to save taxpayers dollars. I want to save you dollars, but I also want to make sure my men and women is paid fairly
and got what they need to work.
Got what they need to work with. You know, you want to provide safety to the public. Our main job is to serve and protect, and that means protect your property, protect lives. But at the same time, we want to make sure these young men have the equipment to do the job that they're supposed to do, and make sure they're compensated. I really don't want no deputy sheriff to have no second job.
Right.
Because he's not focused on his main job if you got to worry about a second job.
That'll kind of roll in a little bit to the next question of you hear citizens complain about sheriff's deputies or police officers in general in their vehicles when they're not working. So what do you think about the take-home cars, deputies driving cars outside of the county, driving them when they're off duty? Give me your thoughts on it and kind of what your plans are to do.
All right, first thing, that right there goes back to policy and procedure. I can't see what that policy at the sheriff's office currently is. I can see what the policy is the town of Farmville is. And the policy of the town of Farmville is I have total access to my car. You follow me?
Right.
At the sheriff's office, the only ones that have total access to their cars is their command staff. These guys take home their cars because when we call them out, we need them ASAP, immediately. But they don't take home their cars to be abused. You know, I keep hearing this about the car is a part of their salary. Now, you've been in law for a long time, too. The car is not part of our salary.
No.
Our salary is our salary. So let's correct that. So we're going to put policies in place. And I already got a policy on that already. And what the policy state is, the officers' jobs is to drive to and from work. Once they finish their shift, their cars go home. If the deputy abused that situation, it got steps, punishment, this and that. Now, part of his punishment could be he can lose his driving privilege to take his car home. You still got a job,
Right.
but that car parked on the hill. You get back to work best way you can. I mean, it is what it is.
Right.
And if you abuse it again, you don't got a job nor a car. I'm not trying to be harsh, but you got policy in place for a reason. Now you talking about taking cars out of the county. I have to give it my command staff because, like you say, retention is key. And a lot of people are knocking on doors coming in law enforcement right now. But I can't have a deputy that work for me living in Orangeburg taking a car home. It's not going to happen. So we got to get a mileage radius so where they can take the car home, maybe 25 miles, maybe 30 miles. But that's it.
Right.
They take the car to and from work. I say this at the phone. I need the county council to work with me. And what I meant by that is, I start my career in the detention center. But in the detention center, when I worked in the detention center, we transported all 1068s and juveniles to Columbia for the sheriff.
All right, just so you know, 1068 is a mental subject.
We transported all of them to Columbia for the sheriff, Charleston, we would have to go. We transported them. Now, back then, we only had 8 people working in the jail. The jail got currently more. I'm not talking about the jail. They do a great job. But why they can't do that now? I need my men and women to patrol this county. If they patrol this county, they're not leaving out of this county. Right. So I ain't worried about my cars going out of the county if they're not supposed to be out of the county. Now, sometimes they're going to be going out of the county to go to training and classes and this and that, and that's understandable. But that don't give you the right to go to Walmart.
Right.
Because it's in the policy and procedure.
Gotcha. So you're basically going to have some sort of radius, and then they'll have take-home cars, but then they will have a policy that they have to follow.
Affirmative.
And if there's violated, there's penalties.
My whole administration is going to have policy and procedure. It's policy and procedure to guide the young men and women what they need to do, how to handle this situation on this call, how to handle this situation on that call. It's written down. It's like an issue report. If it ain't written down, it never happened.
Right.
So you got to have policies in place.
All right. Well, let's. This is the last question, kind of on, I think, policy and procedure, and I think that'll probably answer the question. But what are your thoughts on deputies who abuse the laws as far as speeding, reckless driving, and things like that? Because that's, as well as I do, we get complaints on that kind of stuff all the time. And I don't think people realize that not every call requires lights and sirens, but I'm sure you're going to, based on what you're already saying, you're going to have some policies in place and some penalties.
Affirmative. It's not called for. All eyes are on us at all times.
Right.
And, we ride around speed and then we want to write somebody a ticket. In my opinion, no disrespect, that's a hypocrite. Do your job. If you're doing 55 miles on, you're doing 64, I don't write a ticket for that. That's fine. But you should be in the 55 miles an hour and doing 80. If you respond to a call, your lights, siren should be on in that matter. But no, we will not tolerate that because, like I say, I got policy and procedure in place for everything that should arise in law enforcement. And on top of that, I got a full-time training officer.
Okay.
Jake, when I say that, we need a training officers to be abreast with the law, train our young men and women what they need to do. We're not Greenville, we're not Spartanburg, we're not Columbia, but by God, we can beat them in standards because we all get trained the same way. In the academy, say we're supposed to have 40 hours in-service training, but small departments can't do that.
Right.
But we're going to do that. We're going to have in-service training because once a year, we're going to have a 40-hour in-service training that the academy stated. And doing that in-service training, if Jake Sullivan working for me, In that 40-hour week, he might do an 8-hour shift at the jail. He'll do an 8-hour shift at dispatch. He'll do an 8-hour shift with EMS. Because we need to know what others around us doing. And you respect them
Absolutely.
if you know what they're doing.
Yep.
And they respect you. My job is to work together in all aspects of this county. I told you earlier that I got a command staff. And I said that command staff, I want the county to agree with me to pay them young men and women salary. But that command staff has a large responsibility because I want to work with all municipalities from behind. I don't want to be up front. It's your show. I want to assist you. So what I mean is, I got my command staff. Each one of my command staff is going to be assigned to a town, and they're going to be attending the town council meetings because I can't help a town out if I don't know what's going on.
Right.
When I say the county need to work with the towns, I've been in law enforcement for 32 years, but I've been the chief of Varville for 20 years, and I ain't never seen a county council member come to the Varville town council meeting unless they run for office. How can you help the town of Varville out if you don't come to the meeting? It's just in your county. How can you help Hampton out if you don't go to the council meeting? It's just in your county. Well, I'm the sheriff. I'm going to be at your meetings to have a representative. I need to know what I can do to help you.
Right.
I'm not trying to step on your chief's toe. He's doing a great job. But if he needs me, I want him to know I'm there for him.
Right.
And that, I'm not saying that's the right way. I'm saying that's the Tyrone way.
Well, this is going to tie, dude, did you read my list or something? Because this is tying right into the next question. It's totally different from policies, procedures, and even the sheriff's office to a certain extent. But what do you think your office can do? I'm an entrepreneur, business owner in the real estate business now. What do you think your office can do to help economic growth in the county, to assist and attract other people to move in and move their businesses into our county?
One thing we're going to do is we're going to work together. When I say work together, we're going to work with the county. We're going to work with the municipalities. And I hope by me doing that, our councils and mayors will do that. And what happened is, you're a businessman. Maybe you got a billionaire businessman out there, and he see Hampton County working together. And he say, I want to be a part of that. They work together. They do great things together. They work together. Now, one thing we're going to do at the sheriff's office is I'm going to really sit down and study the budget, because I told you before, I want to save you money. And back in 2010, the town of Varville was in bad shape, financial-wise. We was in bad shape. The mayor, he would agree with me, and the council would agree with me. We was in bad shape. And we had to make a decision. It was a tough decision. How are we going to come out of this debt we in? So the decision was made to take a 15% cut across the board. In 2010, I lost an officer, Public Works lost an officer, and the administration secretary lost an officer. But what that did was, the saving that we got off that money, we didn't put the burden back on the town. We didn't put it back on the citizens and say, we're going to go up on your police fee, we're going to go up on your fire fee, we're going to go up on your water bill. We didn't do that. We took a 15% cut across the board. And what that saving did, it turned our finances around, and it put us in the projection where we at today, we the town of Varville is debt free. So as the sheriff, I look at my budget, and I'm going to say, this, what can we do to benefit Hampton County? And I will bring this to the people, and I will bring this to the county council. Why not take a 5% cut across the board for every entity in the county? It will save taxpayers money. You don't take that money and spend it. You just take that money and hold it. And then the next year, we get that back. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I believe.
So a short-term pain for a long-term gain.
What is 3% or 5% cut across the board for 1 year? Let's see what we can accomplish out of that, instead of going back and saying we're going to raise up the millage, or we're going to raise this and raise that. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
A lot of people are hurting right now, man. Look at food and gas. So you're gonna go up? We need to find a way to come down.
Right.
That's being honest. I mean, we gonna go up on property taxes. What are we gonna do? We talking about we in the process of talking about building a new school right now. Where we gonna get the money from? The state gonna send you money, but how much they gonna send you?
Right.
So back to the taxpayers.
So we're going to shift gears now. We're going to talk about something that's a hot topic. Everybody's talking about it now since the current shooting in Texas. So we're going to talk about mass shootings and school shootings. So, Chief, do you think that we're doing everything we can right now here in Hampton County to protect our children and to secure our schools?
Well, let me tell you what I would do. The first thing I would do is put another SRO at Wade Hampton High School, and I'll put a brand new SRO at Patrick Henry School. That's long overdue. Once you do that, we have officers in place at all the schools. But then again, we're gonna have to go back to policy and procedure, how that we're going to handle this situation if we do have a school shooting. North Central Schoolhouse and Wade Hampton sits in the town of Vaughnville. Yeah, the sheriff do got SROs in that school. Yemisi, Fennell sits in Yemisi. How are we going to address those situations? Is that going to be Yemisi in charge? Or is that going to be Vaughnville in charge? Is that going to be Hampton in charge? We need to sit down together and have a policy in place. How are we going to address that situation? Unfortunately, if we do have a school shooting, my recommendation for the county when I first take office is we need to have a policy, not just a school shooting, a mass shooting. If we have any kind of mass shooting in Hampton County, I recommend that the county will close all government buildings and the towns follow suit. Because I don't need officers to go back to the town of Hampton or Vaughnville because somebody in there irate. Those doors should be locked. We need all the resources in Hampton County to respond. We're going to have Colleton County, Jasper County, Allendale, Beaver County responding. But look how long it takes them to get here. So we need Hampton County to stand on its own until we get resources from the local, the state, and the federal. So we got to have policies in place, Jake. And I keep talking about policies, but we in a time now that everybody know what they need to do in case something arises. Like I say, if a shooting happening, a mass shooting, I'm not going to say don't designate the place, but if a mass shooting happening in Hampton County and I'm the sheriff in the county go agree with me, the first thing I'm going to pull from is the courthouse. I'm going to take those young men and women at the courthouse, send them to the hospital. You got people going to come there. You're going to have people that are going to be shot, injured. You're going to have family members coming in. We need to secure the hospital right then.
Right.
And then we're going to need to respond to the calls. Once you respond, for example, if a shooting happened on the backside of Bronson, we need Yamasi to respond. But the way Yamasi responds is totally different than the way Hampton and Valverde respond. They'll be closer. Yamasi going on the tail end. We might need Yamasi at this time right now to answer calls. Because we still going to have call for service.
In the rest of the area.
It's what we need to have stuff in place. And right now, that's not in place.
Do you know what the current procedures are for Hampton County if we were to have a school shooting at, say, Hampton Elementary? Do you know?
No.
Okay.
We need to have a policy in place that speak the same language. So if it happened, the chief of Yamasi, the chief of Vaughnville, the chief of Buck, they can pull their phone out. This is what we need to do. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Now, all right, the next question, and this is only an opinion question, so I mean, I just want your opinion on it. Do you think that the average officer on the road today is trained like military, SWAT, entry teams, and things like that? They're trained to go through a door with a barricaded subject shooting at them. Do you think our officers on the street are trained well enough to handle a situation like that?
No. We need to train more, and that's not just because I want it for sure. We need to be trained more, period, in those type of situations. No, you might not be SWAT, but you can get some of that training.
Right.
Exactly. You need that training. I was talking to someone earlier today, Every officer in Hampton County need an AR-15. You cannot approach the bad guy now with no Glock 45 or 45 handgun. Every officer in Hampton County need a AR-15. Um, but the SRO don't need them inside the school,
Right.
but they need to have access to it.
All right. Now, another big thing you're hearing with this recent shooting is notification of the parents. What do you think can be done better to notify family members and parents of an incident at a school? How do you think we should address that situation? Because it looks like from what we're seeing that has been a big complaint with this last shooting.
Jake, I believe a lot of that going to fall this is my personal belief. A lot of that going to fall within the context of the school and the school officials how to contact the parents. Our main focus is to get to the shooter, to disarm the shooter, and bring calm to the situation as soon as possible. If they need assistance in contacting the family members, we'll do that. But once again, when I talk about how we're going to handle the situation, we need to sit down to the table with the superintendent and the school boards to do the best policy that fits Hampton County need.
Right.
So contacting the family and stuff like that, you have assistance from our victim advocates and stuff like that. But these guys' main focus at that time would be getting in and getting that shooter quick as possible. One of the things that happened in Texas was they waited to it's hindsight because you can talk about it now, but we don't have exercises in the past, and you were part of exercises. We go straight to the shooter.
Right.
Even if it's one or two, you go to the shooter.
And that's why I asked the question, because if you I've had military training,
Mhm.
I've had SWAT training and things like that. I've been on those teams and going through those doors, but the average officer on the street, the public doesn't understand that the average officer doesn't
Right.
have that training.
They don't.
And that's a situation when you put them in that situation, it's hard to go through that door knowing there's a guy that's going to be shooting you.
We sworn to serve and protect, but it's also sometimes you go to calls. It's a good thing too, fear.
Right.
It's a good thing that have a little fear. But once again, we want to try to make it as easy as possible for the officers, such as training. We want to train not one time a year. I want to train at least 2 or 3 times a year on these type of incident schoolhouses. That every incident happened that we had in high school.
Right.
It might happen at elementary school with the kids. So we need to train in all scenarios and bring down people that do this on sled. I'm gonna tell you right now, when we train our first time, we're gonna make a lot of mistakes. But I don't want to make those mistakes the second time. I don't make the mistake the third time. We want to get better and better. But how do you get better and better? By training. By training. Like I say, work with the school board and stuff like that because they have teachers' work days. Let's have this stuff in place. Matter of fact, we might have to send some letters out to the parents. But why not have a training when the kids in school?
Right. Good idea. All right, so I posted something on social media earlier this week. It's just an idea I had, but I want to get your opinion on it. There's a lot of different things that can be done to help in the school shooting situations to make things safer. One of my ideas is if you have one entry point, you can only access that school from one spot, the front door, side door, whatever it may be, and you take an armed U.S. veteran and you put them at that door, in addition to your SRO, because like you said, the SROs have they have a unique job. They can be mentors, they have to be disciplinarians, but they're also having to guard that school and protect that school.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you think of putting an armed veteran at that front door and their only job is to protect that school?
The first thing, who put them there? You got liabilities if something happened.
Right.
Who put them there?
All right, as the sheriff, if a group came and brought this idea to you and said, would you support it? Would you maybe deputize these veterans?
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on something entertaining that as a thought process?
I never thought about that, but first thing I have to do is talk to the attorneys, make sure everything's legal. especially for repercussions on lawsuits and stuff like that. What I will do, Jake, is this here. I will go out to all these schoolhouses and with the superintendent and my command staff to voice my opinion about the safety issue. And one of the safety issues that we have is let's take several of these schools are old schools. So when you come into the schoolhouses, you come into the door, the office right there. So what I would request is let's take this door out. Let's build a wall here. Let's take this door out, build a wall here. Let's put a glass right there. I'm gonna use Robert Elementary for example. When you walk in, they got an office right here. Let's take this door out, build a wall here, put a bulletproof glass right there. So when the secretary is talking to the people, they can't go no further because when you come in to the schoolhouse, you see the hole right there?
Compartmentalize, and that's been talked about as another solution too, because you basically put them in one spot. They can't go anywhere else.
They can't go right, build a wall right there and a glass door that once they come in the schoolhouse, once you buzz them in the schoolhouse, they won't even go no further than here. They got to get buzzed to go any further. But what you got to do is, she can't buzz them no further. Somebody else got to buzz them. Because she can be held at gunpoint and panic and buzz it. So those are things I want to look at and with the superintendent and the school, how we can better address that. Because a lot of these, like I say, a lot of these schools we dealing with right here is old. When you first come to read Hampton, once you get past that door, the cafeteria right there.
Yep.
So how are we going to address those issues? So we got to look at that. And what I would encourage my young men and women on my staff is, like I say, I don't really want them to have a second job, but I'm not against them being a substitute teacher. That particular day, you might just save a kid's life.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I want to, I want to encourage that because like I say, a lot of these kids is broken. If I get some of these young men and some of these young women to volunteer and be coaches, look what they're doing to the community, man. Look what they're doing to the community. And I believe it'll be an asset.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you sitting down and talking to me. And what I want to do now is give you an opportunity to tell the citizens of Hampton County anything you want to do in closing.
First thing, I want to thank Jake for having me here today. What I want you all to do is get with your family. Pray. Pray about the selection. Pray about the direction you want Hampton County to go. All the candidates running for sheriff is good men. I know all of them personal. I supervised a couple of them in my past. But this election is very important, not just for the sheriff race, for the county council race, for the coroner race, for all races in Hampton County. But I ask for your vote, but also ask for your prayer. Pray for me and pray for all the other candidates. You deserve better, and I want to give you that better. I've been working law enforcement for 32 years. My record speaks for itself. I'm fair. I'm honest. I'm going to tell you what you need to know, not what you want to hear. But I'm going to tell you the truth. When you come in my office, you might disagree. But one thing you're going to say when you leave my office, Tyrone Smith didn't lie to me, because I'm not going to lie to you. I'm running for sheriff for the future of your kids, my grandkids. God bless you. Thanks for having me, and I hope to get your vote on June the 14th, 2022.
Thank you very much, Chief.
Thank you.